Hello, this is Mrs. Cole, and this is our fourth lesson on proportions. First of all, we always start with a definition. So the definition of a proportion is just when you compare two ratios. And what you really want is those ratios to be equivalent. So here we have 3/5 equals 15/25, and we can easily see that's true because 15/25 simplifies. And we have 7/21 equals 8/24. So like I said, you want to make sure that your proportions have equal ratios. So first thing you need to do is you need to be able to check to see if your proportion is false. And there's two different ways to do that. The first way is to simplify. So if I have this proportion from my first slide, and I have 3/5 is equivalent to 15/25, what I can do is I can simplify both sides to make sure they simplify to the same thing. So 3/5 is simplified, so it's just 3/5. But 15/25 can be simplified because 5 goes into both the numerator and the denominator. So if I look, I divide 15 by 5 and I get 3, looking good so far, and I divide 25 by 5 and I get 5. So there we have 3/5 is definitely equivalent to 3/5, so that's happy. That's true. We have one to try on your own. I want you to check and see if 7/21 is the same as 8/24. So what I want you to do is to pause the movie right here and see if you can simplify both sides to make them be equivalent. So pause the movie. Now that you have tried it on your own, let's see how it works out. We have 7/21 can be simplified numerator and denominator by dividing by 7, and you get a 1/3. 8/24 can of course be simplified by using 8, and you get 1/3. So this one is true. Here's one more to try on your own. Try simplifying both sides and see if you get the same thing. Pause the movie and try to simplify. Now that you have tried it on your own, here's how it works out. We have 2/3 is equivalent to 5/8, which is not true, so this one is false. The second method you can use is to find the cross products. Now the cross products are when you multiply across like this, so 15 times 5 is 75, that's one cross product. And then we have 3 times 25, that's also 75. And the trick here is that if the cross products are equal, then the proportion is true. So this one is the same as this one, and we already know that's true, so there we go. Here's another example. Find the cross products, 600 and 640. Oh man, that one's false. But we already knew that because that's up here also. If we find the cross product, 640 is not equal to 600, therefore it is false. Here's a new one. I want you to try this one on your own. I want you to find the cross products and then tell me if this statement is true or not. So pause the movie, and if you need help, you can rewind and watch the examples again. But pause the movie now and try this example on your own. Okay, now that you've done your work, let's see how this works out up here. We have 3 times 62, well that equals 186. And 12 times 15.5, that also equals 186. So this is a true statement. 12 over 62 is the same as 3 over 15.5. I find the cross products most useful when I have these goofy things like this. And it's also useful when you're solving proportions, but that's not till the next slide. So it's useful when you have these funky numbers, otherwise, or you could scale it up and then just use the same method of simplification. So now that we know how to check if a proportion is true or not, we also want to know how to solve proportions. So when you solve proportions, you're going to cross multiply and divide. And you'll need to use it when you have something like this. You have a ratio, and then you have something you know, but you want to figure out what x is. You want to figure out if you had 15, how many of these would you have? So this is a ratio that holds true, so we set it up in a proportion, and you cross multiply, so 15 times 5, and then you divide by this top number. So 15 times 5 divided by 3, and when you plug it in, you get 25. Here's one to try on your own. Remember to cross multiply and divide. It looks a little different. So pause the movie, and if you need help, you can rewind and watch the other example first again. Now that you've tried it on your own, let's check your work. When you cross multiply, you multiply 13 times 17, and then you divide by 8.5. So you should get 26. And now the trick here to recognize is what you're really doing is setting the cross products equal and solving. What do I mean? Well, the cross products in this one is just 3x and 15 times 5. Earlier we said that cross products must be equal for the proportion to be true. So what we're doing is we're assuming this proportion stays true, and then we set the cross products equal and solve for x. When you solve for x, you have to divide this side by 3, but anything you do over here, you have to do it over here, so you have to divide 15 times 5 by 3. But that's just what we did up here. We did 15 times 5 divided by 3. So an easy way to remember how to set the cross products equal is to just cross multiply and divide. And the last thing we're going to learn today is word problems. How do we use proportions to solve word problems? Well, let's look at an example. If there are 1 to 3 boys to girls in a classroom, and there are 18 girls, how many of the students are boys? Well, let's look. What we know is we know this proportion. We know the proportion 1 to 3 is the same as boys to girls. We also know that there are 18 girls, but we don't know how many boys there are. Notice I've matched up the units so that I know my proportion will solve what I want it to. But I can take the units out and just write this proportion, and then it's just like before. We can cross multiply and divide, and I get 1 times 18 divided by 3, and that equals 6. Notice there are more than one way to set up a proportion. So if I wanted to set my ratio on the top 1 to 3, notice it's boys to girls. So in the denominators, I need to make sure I go boys to girls. We'll do one more example together, and then I'm going to ask you to do one on your own. So say you got a $15 gift card for Christmas, and you want to buy some iTunes songs. And the songs you want to buy are $2.99 for one song. So how many songs can you buy? Well, I like to set the money together. So I have 15 to $2.99. This is how much money I have, and this is what the cost is for each. So I'm going to go money to songs. In this case, I don't know how many songs I can buy with $15, but I know I can only buy one song with $2.99. So when I cross multiply and divide, I get 15 times 1 divided by $2.99, and that just equals 5 songs. Now you'll have a little bit left over. You'll have 5 cents left over, but you can't buy a whole song with 5 cents. So I only have 5 songs here. And notice you don't forget your unit name, because that's important. Here's one for you to solve on your own. If a package of erasers contains 20 erasers and is 50 cents, how many erasers can you buy with $3? Remember to set up your proportion and then cross multiply and divide. I want you to try this one on your own, and then if you need some help, you can rewind the movie and look at it. But right now I want you to pause the movie so you can do this on your own. Now that you have tried it on your own, let's see how it's set up. So this is the way I would set it up. I would set it up money to how much you can get. So with 5 cents, you can get 20 erasers. So with $3, how many can you get? Cross multiply and divide. You get 20 times 3 divided by 0.5. Whoop. And you get 120 erasers. Remember again, don't forget your units. Alright, thank you, and I'll see you later.